What's going on, guys? Sticks here at the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I'm bringing you a very cool deck that Ray Fernandez used all the way back in the Wisconsin regionals that I've just been kind of holding on to, and eventually I was like, you know what, this is way too cool of a deck not to use, and that is a Mega Rayquaza Garbodor deck. And before I get into it, just a reminder that if you guys like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button. It helps us out a ton, and let's do more cool stuff for you guys. And as for the question of the day, while this doesn't have anything to do necessarily with this deck, Metro Tiger Gaming suggested a question that I thought was actually a really cool one that I don't believe I had done yet, and that is, what Pokemon do you love? Well, what Pokemon that you love do you think needs a better card? Basically, what Pokemon would you like to see get a better card? And what's your reasoning why? I mean, I'm sure your reasoning why is because you love that Pokemon. But if you had to ask me, I would say that my favorite Pokemon that I want to get a better card, plain and simple, is Mamoswine. Mamoswine was my favorite Pokemon for a very long time. Well, actually not a very long time. It was my favorite Pokemon until Keldeo came out, so it was my favorite for all of like one generation. And I mean, that thing really just has never gotten a particularly good card. Like, it's never had a card that like could see any competitive use. Heck, it's been a card that I really haven't even been able to build a bad deck around. Like, it's just been kind of incredibly, like, really just has no ability to have a deck centered around it, that type of thing. I mean, I'm sure you can, but it was just it was way too difficult, and it just did not do well at all. So I would like to see Mamoswine get an actually good card. In fact, if Mamoswine got a GX, I would probably die pretty happily. But yeah, let me know what Pokemon of yours that you love do you want to see get a better card and why in the comments section down below. Love to hear what you guys have to say. But anyway, on to the deck. Like I said, this is centered around Mega Rayquaza and Garbodor. And for a while, I've been trying to think of a good way to do a Mega Rayquaza deck with the Guardians Rising update. And I had kind of stolen the idea from Orabomb of potentially doing a metal deck. But the fact that there is Garbodor, and I saw a list that used Garbodor as well as Mega Rayquaza, I was like, that could not possibly be more Guardians Rising. So I decided to just go ahead and put both of these together. Mega Rayquaza, the whole thing is fill up your bench with Emerald Break. Oh, fill up your bench for Emerald Break and then hit for a ton of damage, because with Skyfield, Emerald Break hits for a whopping 240 damage, which is absolutely absurd. And then Garbodor, when your opponent has to expend items in order to deal with Rayquaza, then you use Garbodor's Trash Launch in order to be able to just punish them horribly and just take the last couple prizes that you need. So these two actually have a little bit more synergy than I would have thought. It's really kind of cool to see those two working together and having success. As for the rest of the Pokemon, I'm literally just going to go one by one. One Dragonite, because I mean, really the diamond or the triangle of Pokemon support in this deck is Dragonite, Shaymin, and Hoopa. Hoopa searches Shaymins and Dragonites from the deck. Shaymin draws you cards, and then Dragonite allows you to pull like Shaymins or Hoopas from the discard pile to reuse them. I mean, obviously Hoopa can get you Rayquazas and Mega Rayquazas, but Dragonite also can do that as well from the discard. Well, actually, Dragonite can't get you Mega Rayquazas because it's only basics. But I mean, there are still different ways to use them, but it's just kind of, there's a little triangle right there that those three work together to provide the support to consistently fill up the bench. One Oranguru, just to kind of have it on the bench as like a Pokemon draw support that's not like play it down. And Shaymin, it's consistent draw support. It can help you deal with end late game if necessary. Just be able to just draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. Not super strong, but I mean, it's not bad. And if you have an open bench spot, why the heck not put Oranguru in there? One card from Guardians Rising that we added was Sudowoodo. Just, I mean, this card is amazing for any decks that have Skyfield, or against decks that have Skyfield in particular, just because it's an ability. So like, you can't just counter your opponent's stadium like you could with Parallel City and fill up your bench. Sudowoodo is an ability. Your opponent can't have more than 4 bench Pokemon. So even if Skyfield's in play, play down Sudowoodo, your opponent does not have more than 4 bench spots available. This destroys like the mirror match, it destroys like Volcanion among others, and I mean even just against decks that don't inherently rely on having a ton of bench spots, having one less bench spot available to them can be devastating in the right situation. So Sudowoodo, one of the best cards to come out from Guardians Rising in terms of countering decks that use Skyfield. One, Tapu Koko, because I mean, hey, play DCEs, this thing has free retreat. It's just a splashable thing. It's like, well, might as well fill up a bench spot, free retreat, no downside to really playing it. 2 Hoopa to search out Rayquaza, Mega Rayquaza Shaymin. 2 Lele as another thing from Guardians Rising with Energy Drive, be able to search for a supporter, because as you can see, we run not a heavy line of any one supporter, just a lot of situational supporters. So having 2 Lele helps with that, and then also helps late game. And then 2/2 of Trubbish and Garbodor, just to be able to somewhat consistently have Garbodor, but also this deck isn't centered around Garbodor, so it's not 100% necessary, but it's still good to have. As for the items, we are running 2 Field Blower, get rid of choice bands that could potentially hinder Mega Rayquaza, get rid of Parallel Cities, that type of thing that could put us in bad spot, particularly Garbotoxin, which would otherwise shut this deck down because we rely so much on abilities. 3 Mega Turbo to potentially power up Mega Rayquaza in 1 turn if we are able to get energy in the discard pile. 2 Rescue Stretcher kind of work in the same vein as Dragonite, be able to recur Pokemon from the discard pile. So even if our opponent does repeatedly counter our Skyfield, or they're able to put us down to a low bench size, something like that, Rescue Stretcher can recur Pokemon consistently enough to where we're able to fill up our bench immediately after, usually. 4 Ultra Ball let us get what we want when we want. Something I noticed that was kind of cool, only 2 VS Seekers. I guess that's kind of this deck's way of countering Garbodor, because otherwise, like, Mega Rayquaza goes through a ton of items turn 1, usually in an attempt to fill up the bench. So having a lower number of items keeps Rayquaza from overextending too much. I mean, don't get me wrong, you still go through a bunch of items turn 1. But the fact that you just have higher numbers of supporters and lower numbers of VS Seekers mean that you have to discard less items. I mean, yes, it does mean you have to play a lot more carefully with your supporters. Ah, come on. Why, Windows? Why would you do that right in the middle of my recording? My bad about that. Windows just decided to pop up and do that. But, yeah, just running less items means we're a little bit less susceptible to Garbodor on our own if we play carefully. 4 Skyfield, absolute max number, because, I mean, we want to be able to fill up our bench as consistently as possible and have max number on our bench as consistently as possible. And then as for these supporters, of course, you have the highest numbers of supporters are Sycamore and Lysandre, just because those are the best ones in this format right now. The rest of them include Hex Maniac to kind of slow down our opponent, potentially get a turn 1 Hex Maniac after we draw through a ton of cards with Shaymin and Oranguru and stuff like that. 1 Olympia to switch out, just because, I mean, this deck doesn't run any float stones, switching cards, anything like that. And Sudowoodo, Oranguru, Dragonite, all of them have, well, and Garbodor, and Hoopa. Wow, there's a lot. Until I started listing him out, I didn't realize how many cards in this deck had annoying retreat costs. So there's a ton of annoying retreat costs in this deck that you don't want to have to pay. So having Olympia there is a way of being able to switch those guys out if your opponent tries to Lysandre stall. 1 Pokemon Fan Club that lets you get 2 basics. There we go. Now this is the way of working around Ultra Ball to where you don't have to use Ultra Ball, and then that's just 1 less item that you play. It's a way of just being like, okay, I'm going to grab 2 Hoopas with Pokemon Fan Club. And yeah, infinitely better than Bridget in this deck, because this deck relies a lot on effects that you get from playing a card down. 1 Skyla to search for like a Rayquaza Spirit Link, a Skyfield, something like that. I mean, mainly I've noticed I use it for the Rayquaza Spirit Link, because there are only 2 in the deck, as you can see, because normally you only attack with 2 Mega Rayquaza max, and then at that time you're usually attacking with Garbodor. But, I mean, hey, this is the list he used, and it clearly worked well enough for him. So, yeah, 2 Rayquaza Spirit Link. I found that you actually get it when you really, really need it, and more often than not, first turn you're not necessarily going to be able to attack anyway. Well, if you go first, that is. So being able to Mega Evolve without a Spirit Link and ending your turn really isn't the worst thing in the world, but the Spirit Links are there so that if you don't go first, you can still keep your turn going when you Mega Evolve for DCE, because, I mean, that's what this deck relies on. Everything in this deck uses DCE, well, except for, like, Sudowoodo and Hoopa. And then 5 Psychic Energy as the Mega Turbo Energy, because we are also using Garbodor. Oh, and Tapu Lele also gives us the GX attack of Tapu Cure. We let Mega Rayquaza take a bunch of big hits, like all of a sudden it gets down to like 20 HP, at 2 Mega Rayquazas get down to low HP. Tapu Cure can just heal those suckers right back up immediately because they are so bulky. So yeah, that is the deck, fairly straightforward. Let's go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against a Dr. Davis 007 with a, what was that? Sorry, it was Fire, Water, and Psychic deck. There we go. So I have honestly no idea what we are up against, but it should be a good match nonetheless. I would normally think that this would be evolutions, but we don't see any normal types in there, so I mean that's... Well, I start off with something. That's a Rayquaza and a couple Mega Rayquazas and a whole lot of nothing else. So, okay, there's a Victini. So this is something with Fliptini for sure. Well, obviously it's something with Fliptini. But my opponent does play down an Ultra Ball, so tells me absolutely nothing. I seriously have zero idea what we're up against right now. Oh, that's kind of cool. This looks like a Victini Articuno deck. That's actually pretty awesome. That's a very original and cool deck idea. I mean, it's kind of a... I feel like it would definitely be a budget deck idea. I mean, assuming this deck doesn't play Lele's, but then again, we saw the psychic type, so anything is possible. But wow, turn 1 complete setup with turn 1 Tri-Edge, and unfortunately, my opponent doesn't get anything. Well, it doesn't get like a draw support or anything like that. So he gets the Choice Band, and this could actually be pretty hairy if my opponent draws the right stuff. So what I think I'm going to do... Oh, thank the Lord. So what I'm actually going to do is play it a little bit... I'm going to play it a little slow, I think. Because my opponent obviously doesn't have anything. So I could Lysandre up the Articuno. But I think... Yeah, I think I'm just going to play it slow. Mega Evolve. And then try to explode next turn once I have a fully loaded up fully loaded up bench and Mega Rayquaza. So my opponent just top decks and passes. That's fantastic. Let's play the energy onto Rayquaza, Skyfield, play down the Dragonite just cuz. Yeah, sure, I'd love to get 2 Pokemon out of my discard pile right now. And then just Sycamore away, see what we can get going. There we go, this is better. So let's Ultra Ball, get rid of the Lysandre and the Mega Turbo to grab probably a Hoopa or a Sudowoodo or a Trubbish. I think in this case a Trubbish would be nice just because my opponent has played so many items, so we might as well have one of those. Let's go ahead and get rid of the Choice Band, just get rid of that thing that could potentially allow him to get 2-hit knockouts on my Mega Rayquaza. Well, there's an Oranguru. Let's Ultra Ball, get rid of the Skyla. The Mega Rayquaza for sure. No. Let's get rid of the Skyla and the Oranguru, actually, to grab probably a Hoopa at this point, or just... Yeah, let's grab the Hoopa. I mean, at this point, I'm just trying to go off this turn. Let's Hoopa, grab a Rayquaza and a Shaymin, because, I mean, those are obviously the only 2 things I can grab. And if my opponent doesn't top deck something this next turn, I'm going to be able to win the game. So let's go ahead and Shaymin for 3 more cards. I have a bench of 6. I have 2 more spots open. There we go. That's what I was kind of waiting on, is getting a Rayquaza Spirit Link. That way I could get another Mega Rayquaza set up. And then Shaymin again for some more stuff. I have Psychic Energy in my hand. I'm going to be able to... Ooh, this is actually pretty cool too. Because I can Ultra Ball, put the Psychic Energy in the discard pile. Maybe grab a Garbodor or a Sudowoodo or a Lele. I think I'm just going to grab a no. Yes. No, yes. Yes, no. Now let's just grab another Trubbish. Let's do that. That way we have the potential for 2 Garbodors, and then Mega Turbo onto the other Mega Rayquaza. And now I can Emerald Break, knock out the Victini. Gigantic overkill, but there's no kill like overkill. And if my opponent doesn't top deck something, he's gonna lose. I mean, unless he puts me to sleep. Which, I mean, I think I probably just spoke that to life at this point. But my opponent top decked to Sycamore. Of course he did. Of course he top decked to Sycamore. But either way, I mean, if my opponent doesn't have... Never mind. I was going to say if my opponent doesn't have another Pokemon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I have more than enough items in the discard pile for Garbodor to be able to knock out... for Garbodor to be able to knock out anything that my opponent can throw at me. So I'm not worried at all at this point. We see the Trainer's Mail. I mean, that's... I mean, I guess if you're already in range of dying to Garbodor, you might as well play out your items so that that way you come out with no regrets. But either way, my opponent is just going to Tri-Edge me for some decent damage this turn. Oh my. Well, that's something. Crap. Wow. Oh boy. Well, on the bright side, I am just going to set up my Mega Rayquaza, go for a Sycamore, get a fresh hand of 7, and hopefully maybe a Garbodor or something like that. Well, I get a Rescue Stretcher, which really doesn't help me a whole lot in this situation, so I'm just going to take the knockout on the Articuno with the Emerald Break, and yeah, get another Lele, which, hey, you can never have too many Leles. My opponent does send the Victini up. And I think as soon as my opponent plays down another Articuno, I'm going to Lysandre that thing up and try to take it out. Okay, so my opponent does play a Lele, so this is technically not budget. Never mind. I mean, it could be if you run like a Oranguru instead of Lele. But we see another Articuno come down, gets a Choice Band. Yeah, that's going to be the Articuno that I'm going to try to take out. Okay, good. He's putting all his eggs in one basket. And yeah, I'm going to Lysandre that thing 1000% and knock that out. Because as soon as I knock out his... If I knock out his Articunos, he has no attackers. And so all I have to worry about is 4 of them. And then I should be good to go. Lysandre up the Articuno. And let's just knock it out with an Emerald Break. 240 damage. We good. Let's take our prize. It's a nice and psychic energy that I can use to put on a Trubbish. That way Garbodor can start attacking, or Garbodor can attack when I need it to. And at this point, I think I am okay for the rest of the game. I should be, yeah. Because if my opponent... Yeah, I should be. Because if he takes out this Mega Rayquaza with an Articuno this turn, if he's able to do that, then it will take him at least 2 turns to knock out a second Mega Rayquaza. And then at that point, I can just I should have enough knockouts. Wow. If my opponent is able to retreat into Articuno right here, this is just bad. This is all sorts of bad news if my opponent's able to retreat into Articuno right here and potentially take 3 prizes with Tri-Edge. Whew, this is getting tricky. This is a very tricky spot right here. Because, yeah, I'll actually be in a bad spot if my opponent's able to get into Articuno. Because what I was kind of counting on was being able to take out 1 more Pokemon before my opponent was able to take out this Mega Rayquaza with Articuno. But if that... Oh, crap. Well, okay. This is going to be bad because my opponent's going to take 3 prizes off of this. He only needs 2 heads to knock me out. Unless he has a Choice Band, then he only needs 1. But, is he going to Ultra Ball again? What's he Ultra Balling for? I'm honestly not sure. Maybe another Articuno? A 3rd Dude, you realize they don't stack, right? Like, you can't just use 3 victory stars in one turn. Like, that's not how that works. I'm sorry. But, okay, gets 1 heads. I mean, he's going to reflip. Why did he attack? That was about as big a misplay as you could get right there. Yeah, I mean, I honestly have zero idea why my opponent decided to attack with only 1 heads. And, okay, yeah, my opponent just forfeits, so we do take the win off of that. But, yeah, that was a very weird turn. I wonder if my opponent, like, counted wrong, thinking Mega Rayquaza only had 200 HP, but no, it has 220. I'm not sure, but either way, my opponent did end up scooping. I think we had the win anyway because I was able to take out that Articuno next turn regardless, and he didn't have another attacker ready to go, and I think another Mega Rayquaza would have just been too much for him to handle. So, yeah, that was the first game against a very cool deck by my opponent. Let's go ahead and try to find another one with this deck. Already, we found another one against Isam... Isam... Okay, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name horribly. It's like Isamnez? Maybe, something like that. We do win the coin flip, meaning we will get to go first, and... Do I run any supporters in this deck? I don't think I do, because I never seem to get them. Or any draw supporters. And we're up against the Palisand decks, so this is going to be... Okay, again, I'm not trying to knock my opponent or anything like that. I know that not everybody on TCGO has access to, like, the same amount of cards as I do. It's just... it's just sometimes people complain, like, oh, you never play against any good decks. I know, I'm sorry, I try, I really try. But here we go, let's go ahead and just Spirit Link up the Rayquaza. Okay, so I'm going to Shaymin for 3. I'm kind of just banking on the fact that Shaymin's going to get me something good. Well, it gets me another Shaymin. Yeah, let's just go ahead and Hex Maniac and end the turn right there. I mean, at the very least, I'll be able to attack, which is something, but overall, not the greatest first turn. He immediately counters my Sky Field, puts a strong energy onto the Sandy Gas, not Palisand. I was trying to remember what it was. I was like, no, Palisand's the evolution. He's going to go ahead and shore up, but I'm just going to be able to knock this thing out this turn anyway. I have an Olympia, but that's really... You know what? Let's just Shaymin for 2. Shaymin for 2. See if I can get something. Well, that counts as something. Let's Ultra Ball, get rid of a... Let's actually get rid of both Mega Turbo, because I already have a Mega Ray powered up. Let's grab a Hoopa. That way I can play that down and grab a Mega Rayquaza. And I mean, I'm going to have a Garbodor set up, which is pretty nice. So let's grab a Mega Rayquaza and a Shaymin. That way Emerald Break is doing 150 damage. And so, I mean, this wasn't like the ideal first turn, but I mean, it was still a decent first turn. And now I'm going to be able to Shaymin for 4 right here. See if I can get a draw supporter or something like that. I get a Sycamore and a bunch of Field Blowers. So I'm going to go ahead and just Field Blower away my opponent's stadium and my Rayquaza Spirit Link. And then I'm actually going to hold off on playing the Sycamore just because, I mean, I have the energy. I have no need to play anything else down. I'm getting the knockouts that I need right now. So I might as well just hold on to the resources that I have. Not overextend, anything like that. Just, yeah, hold on to the energy. Just slowly power up Garbodor. Well, not slowly power up Garbodor. It takes a single energy to power it up. But power up Garbodor. And maybe if I can just draw into a Sky Field, I can play another Rayquaza, so I can have another one of those as well. And my opponent is just going to be powering up his Machoke in the background. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and Skyla. I think... let's actually just grab a Sky Field. That way I can play down my Rayquaza next turn. And I'm not going to play the Sky Field just yet, because this way next turn I can go ahead and play down the Sky Field, play the Rayquaza, and have the ability to still use a supporter for next turn as well. So that's kind of what I'm holding on to. At this point, my opponent does evolve into a Machamp, and then Lilies for 4. So I think that, yeah, the Machamp is going to be able to survive a hit, but at this point, I think I'm just going to be able to potentially... Well, actually, no, it's not going to survive a hit because I obviously have the Rayquaza and the I probably say have the Skyfield and the Rayquaza. Let's grab another Trubbish. That way I can have another Garbodor, because Garbodor is going to be able to absolutely destroy my opponent. Play the energy onto that, and then Sycamore away my hand. Get a fresh hand of 7, see what else we can get. Well, we get some stuff, but let's just go ahead and Emerald Break. Hit this Machamp for 210. Yeah, counterattack's going to be able to do 30 to me, but, I mean, yeah, something that he spent all game trying to get set up, I just knocked out. So I think this one's pretty much just going to be a complete steamroll by Mega Rayquaza. I don't think... Yeah, I mean, my opponent can keep playing Pokemon down, but I really don't see how he's going to be able to avoid the inevitable loss at this point, because I'm 3 prizes away. Let's just power up Mega Ray, Ultra Ball, get rid of Pokemon Fan Club, and Sycamore to grab another Garbodor. That way I have 3 attackers that are capable of taking the next 3 prizes. So if some miraculous situation comes up where he's able to knock out my Mega Rayquaza this coming turn, I'll still have 2 Garbodor that have more than enough ability to one-shot whatever he wants to bring in. So yeah, he's just evolving into Palisand in the background, getting some energy on it. Honestly, I don't care about Palisand at this point. That thing is not of any worry or consequence to me at this point. And, well, yeah, there's another Palisand, so it's not a huge deal at all. Yeah, I easily knock it out in 1 hit, even without Skyfield, so... should I play down Sudowoodo? You know what? Style points. We're playing down Sudowoodo. And then Emerald Breaking, knocking out the Palisand, taking 1 more prize. That way I'm 1 prize away from winning, and I really don't see... I mean, my opponent can Lysandre up my Hoopa, but I have an Olympia that I can always just use to... just switch out, so I can't even be hit by that type of situation. He is going to... I mean, props to my opponent. He's playing it out. He really is. But I don't see what my opponent can do at this point to keep from losing. Hey, he pulls off the Maxis. You know what? I tip my hat on there. My opponent was able to pull off a Maxis. And that's not something that you're able to do all the time. So what I am going to do is get rid of Shaymin, Hoopa, and Shaymin. My hand's down to 5, but that's not a big deal because I will be able to one-shot Palisand anyway. Actually, Garbodor doesn't look to be able to hit. Well, I mean, either way, he just played the level ball down, so I mean, that's... Yeah, he's playing plenty of items now. I mean, it really... I'm just waiting for him to attack so I can knock him out and win the game at this point. Yeah, he does just pass. So, Rayquaza is going to be able to win. Let's go ahead and put a Hoopa back in my hand. Just cause, play the Skyfield. I'm being a little bit BM right now because I can just... actually, let's just... You know what? Screw it. Let's just Emerald Break end this. Yeah, I mean, I would have been able to live anyway, but just in case my math was wrong on Palisand's ability, or I didn't want to have to, like... I didn't want to accidentally hit it for not enough and then be like, oh, wait, crap. So, yeah, able to take the win right there. Unfortunately, my opponent wasn't able to get anything going, so that's kind of sad right there. But you know what? Let's go ahead and try to find another one. Hopefully a more competitive one with this deck. Alrighty, we have found another one against a Duck Constant with a Fire and Psychic deck. So if this is a Garbodor Salazzle deck, I'm actually going to be pretty excited because I've been wanting to play against one of those for a little while. I think that's a very cool deck idea. I mean, yeah, there are better versions of Garbodor, but I don't know, I just think Garbodor Salazzle is a very cool idea. Unfortunately, we do lose the coin flip, so we're probably going to be going second. But I mean, that's not... Yeah, we are going second, so it's not the end of the world, but it's not, like, great. Ugh. So I start with 2 things you really don't want to start with. Let's just play the Oranguru, because, I mean, the Oranguru can actually... Okay, Lele can get me out of this hand. That's why I'm playing the Oranguru down, because I need to play Lele to get an end to get out of the hand that I currently have, and also, I mean, Oranguru can attack in some situations, like if my opponent has a my opponent has an energy on Trubbish, then Oranguru will be able to knock it out. So, I mean, that's... Well, there's the energy. So, I might be going in with Oranguru if I don't draw into anything. And I get DCE. So, that's pretty nice, actually. Let's go ahead and Lele. Because my opponent just played an energy... Because my opponent just played an energy... only an energy onto the Trubbish... I think I don't want to... Well, obviously, I'm not going to end him. But I think I'm just going to go ahead and Skyla for a... Or Lele for a Skyla for an N for next turn. I mean, this was kind of a roundabout way of doing it. But, I mean, it was... It got me the way... It got me, like... Got me a supporter out of my deck. And that's what I'm trying to say. Got me a Skyla that I can use later if I need to. We see the Altar of the Moon come down, and a Nest Ball, so my opponent is going to bring out something. Maybe another Trubbish? I mean, at least it's a Nest Ball and not an Ultra Ball, because if it was an Ultra Ball, then I'd be like, ah, crap. But does just bring out Needy, and retreats right into it. So, yeah, Oranguru going in. Let's just go ahead and counter his Stadium. And I still don't want to end because my opponent clearly doesn't have anything. Let's just knock out the Eevee, take our prize off that, and I can always just Skyla for an Ultra Ball next turn, and then Ultra Ball for a Hoopa, and then just kind of go off, actually. So, yeah, glad I played that game patiently because my opponent did not have anything and just ended up scooping. And normally I would end the video here because we're right at about time, but I'm not satisfied with how these battles went, so... You know what? We're going to go ahead and try to find one more with this deck. Alrighty, we have found another one against Sneaky Colossus with a Psychic, Grass, and Electric deck. Oh, sorry, Lightning, not Electric, Lightning for some random reason. We do win the coin flip, so we do get to go first. Kind of looks like a Vikavolt deck, and, well... Are we going to be starting with Oranguru again? Nope, I'm not doing that. So I'm going to just start Trubbish, and this hand is significantly better than other ones that I've had. Okay, there's Fomantis. So what I'm going to do, Ultra Ball, get rid of the Field Blower and Oranguru to grab probably just a Lele, because I mean I have Hoopa for all of those. There's Skyla. I can get Skyla for a Skyfield, I think. Yeah, so let's go ahead and Hoopa first. Actually, it really doesn't matter. But let's Hoopa, grab a Rayquaza, and a Shaymin. Is that the way to go? I think no. Let's grab just Rayquaza and Shaymin because I have another Shaymin in my hand. Maybe. Either way, let's go ahead and Lele. For probably, I'm thinking Skyla just so I can grab the Skyfield. Actually, you know what? I probably should have grabbed the other. Should have went ahead and grabbed the Rayquaza, but actually, you know what? I think I'm just gonna get a Spirit Link for this turn because I have the ability to potentially draw into it, and I know that there are fewer Spirit Links in my deck, so I might as well just go ahead and get it. That way, I have less cards in my hand. And okay. Well, that's something. So let's just go ahead and Field Blower away my Spirit Link. Play down the Shaymin for 2 cards. Hopefully get something. Okay, there we go. I really wanted an energy. So what I can always do next turn is just Skyla for a Skyfield. And then play down like the Rayquaza, the Shaymin, and all that good stuff. To where I'll be able to retreat out. My opponent is... going to Ultra Ball, well, that's 1 item, so I'm doing at least 20 damage with Garbodor, so that's promising. My opponent is going to just grab a Lele. So Lele is going to be a couple of prizes later in the game if I'm able to just Lysandre that thing out. Yeah, I only have 4. So Bridget, I mean Lele into Bridget is never a bad play. That's what this format has turned into. Okay, so it's Fomantis or Lurantis Tapu Bulu. That's kind of cool. I really like that idea. I mean, that's actually, of course, I like that idea. I was supposed to be like, wow, that seems like a really cool deck, something I would run. Well, yeah, I did run it. I actually ran exactly Lurantis Bulu, so losing my mind, guys. It's okay. It's casual. But what I can do right here is VS Seeker for the Skyla to grab a Sky Field. That way I can kind of play out my hand a little bit more. I wish the Garbodor did not have such a heavy retreat cost, because now I just kind of had to sit and let it sit there. I just kind of had to wait for it. So I'm going to play down the Rayquaza. You know what? I'm just going to kind of accept the fact that I'm not going to be able to attack this turn. I'm going to have to wait till I get an Olympia. Oh, there we go. So let's Ultra Ball. Get rid of a Psychic and the Mega Rayquaza to grab a Hoopa, with which I can grab a Mega Rayquaza. So you see what I did right there. I literally just did it so I could get a Psychic Energy in the discard pile. And you know what? I probably should have played the Mega Rayquaza down, because I mean I couldn't attack anyway, but not a huge deal-ish. My opponent is going to end me. That is actually fantastic. I am okay. I'm completely okay with that, because maybe I can draw into my Olympia, which I definitely really, really want, which I don't get. Darn it. I should have gotten a Sudowoodo. But he is going to be able to Flower Supply, hit my Garbodor for 40 damage, and start, sorry about my yawning. Start powering up a Bulu, and do I want a Sycamore? I really don't want a Sycamore, but I really do. There's just not enough. I hate getting rid of 2 Sky Fields. That's so painful. But I have to in order to be able to do much of anything, so... what can I do? I can always Lele for Olympia next turn, so I think I'm just going to spend this turn evolving into Mega Rayquaza, and then I will Lele next turn and hope that my opponent doesn't have a Forest Giant Plants. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that he just goes for another Flower Supply this turn and doesn't draw into a forest. So there we go. Okay, so I should be able to Lele into Olympia this turn, which is definitely what I'm going to go ahead and go for. Let's Lele for that Olympia. Like I said, I can just retreat, or I can switch into a Mega Rayquaza and knock out this Fomantis, take 2 prizes, and just be in a great position. So let's power up Garbodor, because Garbodor can only be powered up by Psychic. Mega Rayquaza, if I need, can be powered up by another DCE. And then... Alright, so now hopefully my opponent's going to have to expend some more resources in order to be able to... knock me out, or at least come close to knocking me out. My opponent ends me. Not gonna lie, I'm actually okay with this, because my hand was kind of a... I really don't want to play any of the cards in it. And this way, ooh, I get a Lysandre. But, crap, my opponent counters my... Stadium, which is not good. Now I won't be able to one-shot the Bulu, but what I can do... So what's he going to go for? He has to go for a 2-shot on me. Has to go for a 2-shot. I'm going to be able to hit him for a 2-hit knockout. And he goes for a Nature's Judgment. Actually discards all the energy off of it. Maybe he has a way of retreating next turn into a Fomantis, or into a Lurantis, and hitting me with a Flower Supply. But regardless... Thinking of how I want to do this. So Ultra Ball, get rid of Lysandre and Trubbish to just thin out the deck a little bit. Grab Sudowoodo. There is another Sky Field in there. So do I want to end, or do I want to retreat? Because right now, I will get knocked out by Flower Supply. What I think I'm going to do, I'm just going to hit the Bulu for 150. Cross my fingers that my opponent doesn't have a way of retreating. And yeah, we see the other... Actually, if he can just Horn Attack. Yep, he's going to just Horn Attack for a knockout. That's kind of cool. But at the same time, I should be able to knock him out with Trubbish and then end my opponent down to... Oh, wait, I won't be able to knock him out with Garbodor. Crap. So my opponent's played it very smart and has only played a single item card this entire game. Please. Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm okay with this. Thank you for ending me. Choice bands up the Lurantis. Good play. And then ends. Maybe if I can get an energy. Actually, if I can get an energy, I'll be in a phenomenal spot. I do not. That's bad. So he is just going to Horn Attack me. And I'm just going to send up the Garbodor. Just because, I mean, that thing's close to getting knocked out anyway. This is not good. This is very not good. Let's go ahead and do that, and then just get my opponent down to a little bit lower of a hand size. Spirit Link up the Rayquaza just so I don't have that card in my deck. And then let's Trash Lanch for 40 damage, just enough to get the knockout. And there we go. Okay, so I get a DCE, and Garbodor is actually going to put in work, apparently. Because if I can draw into my Sky Field, I will be able to knock out his Lurantis. If I can draw into my Sky Field, I should have enough. I should have enough ability to, you know, draw and stuff like that to where and play Pokemon down to where I'm able to knock out my opponent's Lurantis, and I can always Rescue Stretcher for a Shaymin to try to draw into. Yeah, to try to draw into some stuff. He does Field Blower. I mean, that's fine. Not a huge deal. I mean, he just gets rid of my Rayquaza Spirit Link. And if he's probably going to Lele for an N. Oh no, he's going to Sycamore. Oh, I guess he needs to draw into an energy. I didn't realize that he didn't have an energy. So yeah, my opponent just needs to draw into an energy at this point in order to be able to win. So I think I'm okay. Okay, he must have drawn into it off that Sycamore. I mean, that's to be expected, honestly. But yeah, he's going to be able to knock out my Garbodor right here with a Flower Supply and also power up a Bulu. So this will be an interesting turn of events. But at the same time, I can just go right into my Tapu Koko, who has the free retreat back out if I need to. And I get a Lysandre too. So that's something. Let's Ultra Ball. Get rid of Lysandre and Rayquaza to grab nothing. Yeah, I don't want to grab anything. Let's Rescue Stretcher. Put a Shaymin back into the hand. So hopefully one way or another I can draw into it. Play the DCE onto the Rayquaza so I can potentially attack. And then let's Shaymin for 5 cards. Hopefully a Skyfield is in there. It is not. Let's I think I need to Mega Turbo just so I have one less card in my deck. Let's Mega Turbo onto Mega Rayquaza, and then N puts my opponent down to 3. Maybe I can draw into the Skyfield and something. I do not, but I think I have all I need to be able to win the game next turn, and then I'm just going to retreat into my something. Actually, let's not risk. Let's not risk Rayquaza being knocked out by a choice-banded Kukui Nature's Judgment. So I'm not going to risk that. Let's just go from there. And my opponent is going to Lysandre. So, okay, he can't play the Kukui. I mean, the fact that my opponent played Lysandre means he can't play Kukui. So, I mean, yeah, he's setting me up to be knocked out by Nature's Judgment. But at the same time, like, I have stuff. Like, I have plenty of stuff to be able to knock out the Lurantis at this point. So, get a Pokemon Fan Club, that's fine. I should. Yeah, let's just go ahead and I think Sycamore away my hand, just draw into the rest of my deck. I have Dragonite and Sudowoodo and Hoopa. So let's play down the Dragonite. Yes, I would just want to grab like a couple Trubbish, because I mean that's all that matters. Because all I have to do is just play both Trubbish down. Actually, I only needed one to be able to take the win. And there we go. All right, so we were able to take the win against in a much more competitive match than some of the other ones that I had. So yeah, I mean, you guys know how much of a sucker I am for Mega Rayquaza. I'm very excited that I was able to bring this deck to you guys, and I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.